Hi, Sandra here from Creating Spain, and today I wanted to talk about making some stencils. But instead of making stencils from paper or card, I want to talk about making stencils from this stuff, which is fun foam. Now this is probably about 1 millimeter thick, and even at that thickness it's thicker than most cards and things that you'll be cutting. But with my silver bullet, I find cutting fun foam is very easy. It cuts through it like butter, it's not a problem. But what I wanted to do was show you some effects that you can get from doing this. Now what I've done here is I have cut out a very basic pattern, and I've cut it out twice, and I've used spray glue as it happens to glue the two pieces together, lining them up well. You can use a silicone glue to do the same thing. So I have a thick stencil, and you might think, what on earth do you need a stencil that thick for? And there's an interesting reason. Now over here I have some hearts, and these are all bits that I've cut out of fun foam, or, well, not on those, but these are all bits that I've cut from fun foam, and they have different effects applied to them. Now with these, all I've done is cut them out, and I've just painted the top with this stuff, which is Craybox 3D Deluxe. It is a texture gel that I got from Lidl. I've done a review on it before, I believe. It doesn't look very pretty when you open up the container. You can see a very slight sparkle to it perhaps. But when you actually apply it and leave it, it gets very sparkly. So it's a fun thing to use. But the other ones that I've got down here have had different finishes applied, and they all give different effects. Now the first one down here, I just coated with gallery glass, and that really doesn't do much for it at all. That one is my favourite. I'll go to that one later. This one I just put some normal acrylic varnish over, but I did heat set that, and I shouldn't have done that because it does make it bubble up, but I was being impatient. But anyway, it just gives it a slight gloss. And that one I will go over in a couple of minutes because that is a gel one too. But this one, I just put on a couple of layers of varnish. Now it's an artist acrylic varnish. It's just a gloss varnish, and it's one you've often seen me use. I have it in this bottle here with a fine point nib, and I use it for gluing things together. But all I did was I added one coat, allowed it to dry, and then added a second coat. And I don't know if you can get that focused, but it does give a really nice glossy rounded look to the top of the heart. Now other ones I have here are done with a fun foam and glitter gel, and this is where the stencils come in. What I did was I created a small offset of the original stencil and just cut it in one layer of fun foam. And then what I did was I took I'll just use one here. I took my double layer fun foam, my stencil, put it over the top, and then filled it up with this gel. And you can see, I hope, the result is really pretty. You get a nice raised finish. It's rounded on the top, and of course it goes over the edge of the foam heart and then adheres to the surface. So you really do get some great dimension on there, as well as great sparkle. Now the ones that I've got here are slightly different. All I did with those was I put some paint through my original one layer piece, and then theoretically allowed that to dry before putting this double layer one on the top, and then putting the gel through again. And I have to confess, I was a little too impatient and I didn't wait for the paint to dry, so it did smudge a little bit. But if you waited for the acrylic paint to dry and then put the gel on top, you'd end up with this coloured layer with the clear sparkly layer on the top of it. But it does give a really nice finish. Now, even on just plain hearts like this on a card, that would be nice. But if you did it in a different pattern, cut out a different, more involved stencil, it would look really superb. So there we go. That's a reason for using a double layer stencil. Now, this stuff is dirty because I haven't washed it. I just let the stuff dry on it. But in general, fun foam is quite easy to clean. If when you've used it, you just dump it in some water, it doesn't absorb water, so it will dry quickly when you've washed it. Soap and water, give it a good scrub, and it will be clean again. Obviously not if you leave it to dry on the stencil though. So a handy thing to do for adding dimension, and although you could get a similar effect to this by building up lots of layers of card, if you have a more evolved pattern, it will take you a lot longer to do that. If you're using a cutting machine, that's not so easily done because the die cuts tend to stick to your mat, and then you have to peel them off individually. So for those people who have electronic cutters, this is probably an easier method of getting a very similar effect. For those of you who have dies and you want to do it by layering up card, that's fine. But this is just an alternative. And apart from the drying time, it takes relatively little time. Now this one I experimented just with a clear gel, which was this one again by Aldi or Lidl. I don't like the effect of that one as much, it's not as pretty, but again it is still raised. Okay, that's it, thanks for watching, take care now.